urgent health issues, we've got you covered. Health check only on Voice of the People television, where your health has a voice.
My name is Tao Familoni, and here's My name is Tao Familoni, and here's to VOPTV. Keep watching, stay tuned, do not touch that dial.
Arararara, my name is Made Kuti and you're watching BOPTV. Keep watching.
Welcome, my name is Ika Davis. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and boys, viewers, everybody, boys and girls. This is VOP TV. Do you know what that means? Voice of the People TV. You don't have a voice, don't come here. You better make sure your voice is heard.
Welcome to the locker room, the home of football talk that matters. I am Jerry Ampelon. Join us every weekday, Monday to Friday at 5 p.m. Nigerian time, as we share the hot takes and hot debates in the exciting world of football. And joining me are the usual suspects, Ikechukwu and Mayowa, as we break down all the hot takes and everything that's happening in the football. Don't just watch football, live it with us. Catch us on the locker room and Voice of the People television at 5 p.m. Nigerian time. And like I always say, if not 20 minutes off, with the sport.
Are you ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOPTV. Now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We bring in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOPTV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOPTV. Now you have more than a voice.
Africa is on the move, a continent of rising voices, untold stories, and powerful transformations. From the streets of Lagos to the heart of Nairobi, from the mines of Congo to the tech labs of Cape Town, the African story is being written every day. Bold, dynamic, unstoppable. This is African News on Voice of the People Television. We don't just bring you the news. We analyze and bring you Africa's heartbeat, the politics that shapes our nations, the economies that drives our future, the cultures that defines who we are, the voice that must be heard. Africa News, Africa's voice, Africa's future. Where Africa speaks, the world listens.
Voice. Join the conversation. Well, thank you very much for joining us again. This is Newspaper Review. I am Moses Humphrey. And of course, Jane Ogoye and Chukwuma Okoro with me here. We also have Mr. Elvis Elimehele. Thank you very much for staying back.
Thank you.
And right beside him, Dele Fanimo, a seasoned reporter. He stays back. He joins the conversation as well. Thank you very much for being part of the conversation. And I understand that Comrade Ibrahim Momo also joins this conversation virtually. Comrade, thank you very much for your time. Now let's dive into it. Jane, what headlines do we have from the Punch newspaper?
On the front page of the Punch today, amnesty deal. Outrage mounts as Katsina moves to release 70 bandits. Tinubu told to stop release of bandits on trial. ACF, Afenifere, others slam Katsina government over the amnesty deal. Federal government votes 10 million naira for Abuja runway after scrapping 532 billion naira deal. Kano government meets Tinubu amid defection talks. Military discovers Boko Haram underground storage fuel dump. Banks record rising loan defaults amid strong demand by CBN. DSS arrests Malami after release from Kuje prison. Ekiti poll. PDP, SDP rejects exclusion from INEC final list. Let's lead with the amnesty deal from Katsina, where there are moves to release 70 bandits. Yeah.
All right, so Mr. Fanimo, let's get your thoughts on this one. Over 70 bandits. The writer there says Tinubu told to stop release of bandits on trial. ACF, Afenifere, others slam Katsina government over amnesty deal. 70 of them.
What is amnesty in this? What is amnesty in this? Somebody who is killing, kidnapping for ransom, for selfish gain. What are you offering? What is he offering in return? Somebody who is a criminal. How do you give amnesty to criminals? You can understand the viewpoint of the Niger Delta guys when they were asking for amnesty. You took their soil, degraded the soil, you took their livelihoods, yet they produce 90% of the country's mainstay, economic mainstay. And they said, please restore us back. You couldn't clean up the environment. They said, restore our environment. We only know fishing. We don't have any other job. We do. Now we cannot go and fish. And government decided and said, okay, let us put these people on the right track. They gave them scholarships. Today, most welding jobs, undersea welding jobs, are done by Niger Delta guys. Before then, they brought these people as expatriates to come and do underground welding. It's different from the welder you go to visit to do your everyday welding. You understand? Today, Amnesty had produced more than 12 pilots that were trained in South Africa. So, what are they bringing to the table, these miscreants, these criminals, that you want to give them amnesty? As for giving them amnesty, they just picked about 130 people yesterday, kidnapped 130 people. By nightfall, maybe they will be asking for 1 trillion naira in return for the release of these people. That doctor that was recently kidnapped in Edo was released after payment of ransom. We saw the mother begging Nigerians to help contribute money. How on earth would you think that those people deserve amnesty? They have committed crime against the state. They should be exterminated.
All right then.
What baffles me most about this amnesty is why will the state government be negotiating amnesty? Is it doing this one in collaboration with the federal government? Because what we keep hearing the state governor tell Nigerians is that we are just giving that to executive governor. We are not giving the opportunity to handle the security. That most of the insecurity that comes up in their state, they don't have the means to actually even talk to their commissioner. The commissioner of police from the state get orders from Abuja before he can act. Who now negotiated this 70 that they are talking about releasing? Which other business do these people have more than this criminality? They only know how to kill. So after releasing them, you now think that peace will come to Kaduna State. When you know too well that these people don't have any other job they've known over the years, it's only how to maim and kill and pay and ask people to pay for ransom. So I don't know what Governor Diko Rada is actually trying to achieve with this. Whether he's, I thank God that Arewa has condemned it now, and even Afenifere has condemned it. I want to hear from the federal government on what they think about this amnesty that this governor is trying to, give to these criminals. Because one of the hotbed of this criminality in this nation is even that Kaduna State. We saw government officials some time ago came out and said they were dialoguing with them. When during the former governor of Masari's administration, we saw them standing. We saw Governor Masari standing with these criminals. At the end of the day, did he work? He never worked. So what other effort is he wanting to put now that was bigger than the governor standing? Some of them came out from
they will still be asking for more. They will
still ask for more because this is the business they know.
There's a school of thought that has it that because of the presidential amnesty program, the money earmarked for it, some of these states want to tap into that. So they
at the detriment of their people, at the detriment of
because we have about 9 trillion naira was set aside for that.
Yes,
9 trillion naira.
They should have even been talking about how to harness that money to take care of their brothers and sisters and IDP camps. Not to go and use it to bring out these miscreants from the bush. And at the end of the day, they will do more.
No, but they can't use money from the presidential amnesty program to take care of those in IDP camps when there's a humanitarian ministry on the side.
If this insecurity goes off today, that money cannot be used adequately for people in IDP camp to be resettled back to their respective home. So they should collaborate with the federal government to make sure that this insecurity comes to an end or a manageable level that people cannot begin to return back to their homes. Part of that money in the next budget, you see that it will not go for resettlement of all these brothers and sisters in IDP camps.
All right then.
Well, when people in the north ask for amnesty, you begin to understand the whole concept of insecurity. That the insecurity thing is not just ordinary. It goes beyond law and criminal issues. It goes beyond asking for pardon. There's an underlying fact of it, and the underlying fact of it is that it has become a political tool in the hands of some people, especially in the north. But unfortunately, the average northerner, is the one at the receiving end of the short stick, So if you look at everything that has happened, when Gumi asks for amnesty for terrorists, you begin to, and unfortunately, in the open, he likens it to what happened in the Niger Delta. So you begin to see the bereft, ideas, the unthinking irresponsibility of certain elements. But what baffles me is that in the midst of this, in the midst of him saying, look, I know where these terrorists are, I know their camps, I liaise with them. Of course, we see government officials
with him,
along with him, and even soldiers, go to negotiate with terrorists. And in all of this, the man works a free man. So it speaks to a larger problem in society. And that larger problem is that the government is sincerely not dealing with the issues of insecurity. And when we look at the political angle of it, somehow there's a school of thought that says, like the president, made an agreement with the North. Well, you are going to allow us do our thing, and we, in turn, will give you votes. And now 2027 is around the corner. The president is someone that a lot of people, including me, I believe that he is very fair. In whatever he wants to do, he always has his way. But this issue of insecurity is one where I've seen the president tiptoe around issues. He's been, his efforts have been very feeble. It doesn't go beyond issuing out statements like, you military go and take care of this. Yeah. The president went to Benue State and said, the people that perpetrated this atrocity, have they been arrested? And after that, what happened?
Okay.
Up until this moment, nothing. Nobody's career has been damaged. The brigade commander of that area, the chief of army staff, and all of that. So it goes to show that, look, there must be something beyond this insecurity. And so when we look at it from the political angle of it, I think that those people that look at it from that angle might just be correct, maybe and just maybe are correct in insinuating that, look, there is some form of benefit that people at the political class, at the top echelon of that political class, that there must be something that they benefit from this insecurity. Because come to think of it, when any of them gets in harm's way, they are quickly rescued.
Yes.
So that tells you that they somehow understand what they are doing. Unfortunately, and I keep saying that, look, all of these things will not end until Nigerians one day wake and decide, look, enough is enough. In all of this. Otherwise, we'll just be running execution.
Let's look at the statement made by the Minister of Defense, Christopher Musa, as published by This Day newspaper. It says, terrorists don't respect peace deals. It's counterproductive to national security. The writer says they exploit idea to regroup, launch further attacks. Addressing security challenges in Plateau critical. COAS tells troops. He seems to be. I mean, these are statements he made.
Yes.
As
he's speaking from a position
a professional.
Somebody who rose through the rank to the top echelon of his career.
And look at what
cannot fault him.
My point here is, he made statements like this addressing international media when he was Chief of Defense Staff. Chief of Defense Staff.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. And then now that he's been made a minister, basically, he should be calling the shots. He's still making statements like this, like his handicapped.
No.
It's not that he's handicapped. I think what he is saying.
A minister is different from a commander.
Okay. Now let me say what the minister has said. He spoke from a professional standpoint. What he's saying now is that, look, if you are one of those making peace deals with terrorists, please desist from
me.
That should go to the government.
What he said, with my own little knowledge of strategic studies, warfare, and all of that, you discover that whenever there's a peace deal, people use it to regroup. It never works.
It never works. It's just like buying time.
Yeah.
And Israel experienced it sometime in the mid 19th century. There was a peace deal. But in the midst of that peace deal, the enemy struck. And they were devastated. So it's the same thing. If you say you are giving amnesty or you are giving incentive to these people, they will know that because they will see it as weakness on your part. And they will come for more.
So apparently a negotiation from a weak point of weakness. Now, if you go back in history, in recent history, when MPLA UNITA, when they were fighting in Angola, they will call for a ceasefire. What will Jonas do? Jonas Savimbi. He will travel. He will go to Russia. Negotiate for arms and all of that. And when he comes back, he will break the peace deal because he has acquired arms. And if you go to South Sudan, between Riek Machar and Salva Kiir, whenever they sign a small peace deal, each of them will go and regroup and all of that. And after 6 months, the whole crisis will come. I'm happy that you brought in the issue of the Israelis.
Yes.
It never works.
It doesn't work. Never works. That's why up till now, Israel is still on its guard to make sure that nothing happens.
So what the Minister of Defense is saying, look, if you are one of those proposing for peace deals, with terrorists, this is because it never works.
The chief of Musa had transited from being operation commander to policy maker now.
No, Moses' position is that when he was in the theater of war, what did he do?
Yes, he was making statements like this.
Sounded like
and don't forget that as CDS is just an administrative superintendent. It's not in the direct line of operation. The chief of army staff, chief of naval staff, chief of air force, he could only give orders.
Okay.
You understand?
So
but at that role is just coordinating and supervising.
Okay.
But the real operation stops at the level of the service chief.
So basically we have a problem. When we flip the coin, we say, the commanders are answerable to chief of defense staff, chief of army staff, chief of defense staff, and the national security advisor, to the minister and national security advisor. Now, when on the other side we say, these people are not operational commanders. So what actually is the problem?
You don't understand what I'm saying.
I understand you perfectly.
You see, at the level of operation, for instance, a major general that is GOC is closer to the troops. And down the line, the brigade commander, who is likely a brigadier general.
We absolutely understand you. No, we understand.
But
now, we have a situation
national policy takes this route you are talking about.
Exactly my point. Now, our point of
as an officer, you know that at some point you have discretionary power.
No, exactly the point. Now, at what point that discretionary power? At what point can a senior officer say, "Look, stop, enough of that discretion.
Pull back, or don't do this, or don't do that"?
That's what I'm saying. I'm not a soldier. To the extent that I understand that I know is what I'm giving you.
This man was in the theater of operations. He was making excuses, and at that point,
now he's now he's there.
But would it be an excuse? It's just telling you that you don't negotiate with these people.
Then prevent those that are trying to do so.
How do you prevent? I'm sure if you have the account of that woman, the only son, a medical doctor that is in captivity, you will contribute money. You will.
I will route out the kidnappers. I will route out the kidnappers.
What are we waiting for? Then let's drag you.
No.
You said
I wasn't if I were, but I'm not. Yeah. And then in that regard, it's even more troubling because when students, people came out to say, look, this is wrong. Somebody was kidnapped and should be released, and then the person was killed. What did the governor do? He arrested those that protested. I mean, it's your state.
Yeah, he said it was sponsors from outside the state.
Yes.
That was what he said.
From Russia.
From Russia. And
so then the kidnappers, collected 50 million.
Here is, that's what we'll be talking about. Why politicizing issue of insecurity in this nation? That's the problem. Most of, even the one the governor of Kaduna State is trying to do now, it's all about politics. It's not solving any problem. It's all about politics. That's what happened in my state. The students came out. Even before the students came out, there have been agitation. They have been protesting because of what is happening within Eboma and generally Edo State. But the governor never made any statement. He never came to their rescue until they came to the streets. When they came to the streets, what the governor and the best he could come and say was, this is sponsored from outside, because they know too well that there are one or two persons who are criticizing their government. That is, those are the people that are pointing fingers at. They are not talking about the problem that led to that. People can't go to farm. People can't go to farm. 6 p.m. the Eboma is shut down because of insecurity.
A university town.
University town.
Yes, basically no life there anymore. Okay, well, let's look at a few other headlines. IMF. Okay, Okoro has some knowledge of economics.
No,
you have policy and strategy. Yes.
IMF, Nigeria's macroeconomic reforms beginning to yield results. Let me take the riders to that one. Upgrades 2026 economic growth outlook to 4.4%, 4.1% for 2027. Noye Ayeni, non-oil exports hit $6.1 billion. Exports to ECOWAS declined to $271.26 million on exit of Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger. Those are the riders too.
Declined. Okay.
But
yes,
I've always
declined.
I've always said
exports
this.
to ECOWAS declined.
Yeah, it will definitely do.
When you want to take a look at the economy, you look at it from the macro and the micro level. The macro level is where you shun out statistics on the outlook of the economy. But at the macro level is what concerns you and I. You understand? And for me, I've always said,
micro level.
Micro level.
Okay.
Because it's an individual
That's our kitchen.
That's where your pocket, your purchasing power, your access to necessities of life, that's where you begin to do your own calculation as against the micro statistics that is being rolled out. Today, they said, after rebasing the economy, that it's between 15 and 15 point something percent, the decline in inflation. Yes, to some extent, because prices of goods and services are gradually coming down. And I've said it here, that even foodstuff that used to be on the very high side. But the point is, if those things are coming down, it should have trickle effects on the consumers, the buyers. But you find out that Nigerians be what we are. Whatever goes up, they don't want to come down. Today, away from when we were buying fuel, between 1,000 and 1,002, fuel today is 739 to 750. That marginal decrease, shouldn't it be reflecting on our transport costs? No, it's still static. Today, a bag of rice is between 54 and 60,000. Away from when it was 100 to 120. But if you go to any cafeteria or restaurant, it is still the same portion that they give you. Gari, that the bowl used to be around 1,200, 1,500, is now between 400 and 500 naira. But as it reflected in what they sell to the consumer, no. Are you going to arrest government for that? No. I think the value system has to change for us to begin to see whatever is dished out from the macro level, from macro level to the micro level. We are most times our own nemesis in this country.
Okay. Now Dele has tried to relate the macro and the micro, but then this day headline is how IMF says that Nigeria's macroeconomic outlook reforms, are beginning to yield results. Now, when they say, I don't normally listen to IMF and World Bank.
No, it's not part of me.
They do different things and tell us different things. Now, let's look at the macroeconomic indices. Now, when you talk about macroeconomic indices, you talk about the exchange rate, you talk about inflation, the interest rate. No, inflation is headline inflation is basically about micro because it affects you and I. You talk about the exchange rate, you talk about the interest rate, you talk about the balance of trade, you talk about what? I think there are about 4 or 5 of them. Now let's pick them one by one.
Sorry, as you respond, when you talk about exchange rates and the rest of them, let's have this headline in mind. It's from the Punch newspaper. It says, banks record rising loan defaults amid strong demand.
Now, what it tells is that, we have our monetary policy rate. We have for a very long time now has stood at 2 digits.
Yes.
Within the neighborhood of 28 and 23%. So what it tells you is that, look, when somebody goes to bank to borrow money, he's going to borrow it at that interest rate.
And some hidden charges will also be added.
Management charges, contributions, precedent to draw down and all of that. So ordinarily, he will now transfer it in his goods and to who? To the consumer. So if we talk about exchange rate, do we have stability now? Some form of stability, but it's not helping us because even our budget benchmark says that 1,512 naira per dollar to a dollar is the benchmark. For the
but today it's about 1,470.
Okay, so
So it has dropped below the benchmark.
Okay, it has dropped below the benchmark.
Yes.
Beautiful. So now dropping below the benchmark, how does it help us?
That is the point.
How does it help us? So if IMF, I've talked about exchange rate, I've talked about interest rate, and then let's talk about balance of trade. What are we exporting? You said something about export.
Non-oil
export. How much of that contributes to our GDP, and our revenue intake? So if you look at all of these things, the fact remains that clearly that we might be making little progress, little progress in the economy.
Perhaps not as significant as we expect.
Not significant as it should be. So this same IMF will come back in the next 2 weeks or in less than 2 weeks, in 10 days to tell you,
the economic outlook is dicey.
Nigerians are going to get under poverty by June or July. So those are Bretton Woods, but I don't blame them anyway. I blame ourselves. Because the same universities that I went to in Harvard, in Oxford, in MIT, in Kellogg, we have our own people that also pass through. And when we go there, we even beat them in their own environment. Despite the hostile environment that we pass through, you have Nigerians coming out tops in Oxford and all of that. And these people come back here, they are subsumed in our systemic failures and all of that. So I don't blame them. And I keep saying that, look, we are not the only people that were colonized. We are not the only people that they use these models,
to drive the economy.
To drive the economy. Japan used the same model.
Yeah.
South Asian countries, like the Asian tigers, use the same model to drive the economy. So what is wrong with our people? It's clearly a problem of leadership. The people that developed Southeast Asia were the people that were in school with Alice and Ayedade. All those super permanent secretaries, all of them were in UK And at that point, Lee Kuan Yew said, for every 10 outsiders you see, 8 of them are likely Africans. And out of those 8 Africans, 6 are from Nigeria. So when you went back to your home countries, what did you do? That is the big question.
The leadership system.
It's a leadership problem. So IMF and World Bank should
It's
stop
not
taking
only
all
leadership,
of this.
followership is also there.
Well, I think
followership also
like the egg and the chicken. Which one is best?
Well, the followership also urge them to go that through that
like
route.
the chicken and the egg, which one comes first? Have you been able to answer that question?
Egg now.
Egg. So who lays the egg?
From creation.
All right. Well, let's take another headline here. This is from the Guardian newspaper. The headline reads, 1 year after, 50% telco tariff hike leaves operators happier, consumers frustrated. And then flipping to the riders there, interesting riders, I must say. Quality of service dips despite $1 billion infrastructure upgrade. MTN Airtel revenue up by 50%. Over 40,000 disruptions. Fiber cuts compound subscribers' woes. ATCON seeks stricter enforcement of CNII to curtail misfortunes.
It's obvious. I think I like the way the headline, that rider, they are, the operators are benefiting.
Yes.
They are smiling to the bank. While Nigerians,
just like in the banking sector,
anyway,
the economy is dipping and banks are smiling.
You see, at the end of the day, you just discover that Nigerians are the receiving end in all this. Sometimes when I do data, they tell you 1 month, and then they tell you the quantity they will release for you every day for you to use. So there are sometimes I'm busy. I do not even open my phone for almost half of the day. They will still tell me that same MB that they release for me daily, that they have already given me, when I did not even open my phone for that day. So that day I've used that quantity.
No, some of those apps run at the background.
I just wanted to say that.
But
so whether you use them or not, they will consume. They'll consume them.
But at least, at the end of the day, you just discover that what they tell you is going to be for 1 month, another 3 weeks, they're already sending you messages
because
that
you have used up. It's like if you buy a unit of electricity, if you buy 20 units, and you decide to own all the
equipment, electrical equipment. You see, let me tell you, I used to have the same feeling.
What he's saying.
I used to have the same feeling, just like you just mentioned. But when I now started using 2 phones, there was one permanently on data alone, and I monitored it. But there's this one that runs on certain apps, which I disabled in the other phone. I realized that on the average, I don't use more than 200 MBs on the ones that I have stepped down the apps from running underground. But this one, that the apps, because of certain reasons, are allowed to run underground. I mean, at the background. I use up to 2 gigs sometimes in a day. So what I would suggest is, after this program, you can consult me.
Well, some network providers, they tell you that their service is fast. So the speed of the service, and the faster.
Then if you use 5G enabled phone, it will run faster. And if your RAM is like 8 gig, in some phones you have 8 gig RAM running, it runs faster, and B2 is not the same thing as Mercedes-Benz.
Well, Moses, back to the issue, at stake. I think that has become our lot as
in Nigeria.
In Nigeria, we see telcos rip off Nigerians, extravagantly and in fact extraordinarily. Internet cost here is very expensive. It's very, very expensive, and given the fact that we also don't have Wi-Fi facilities all around town. I've been to places where if you just get
it's an open thing.
It's an open thing. You just get into city.
I visited countries that
I think we have quite a few. In the University of Lagos, there was an arrangement.
I'm talking about places
at the airport. There's an arrangement. So if you go in there, you have access to.
No, that's what I'm saying. I talk about the places where you land at
countries
the airport.
where you have. Yes.
The moment you land at the airport and you turn on your phone, the Wi-Fi pops up, and you get into it. You drive all through the way to the city centers, and any part of the city you go, you discover that you have Wi-Fi. So that's why our in fact, Nigerians, our connectivity rate is very high. Our telephoning rate was about the highest in the world. You know, when we got into the GSM model and all of that. But then our connectivity rate, internet connectivity rate is very low because it's expensive. So, but the telcos are smiling, you know, to the banks and all of that. So when they say that some of them defaulted and they should pay 100 million naira charges, and I say no, they should pay like 200 million naira, not 100 million naira, because they have the money. They have the money.
Yes.
And sometimes I just wonder, where is NCC in all of this?
The regulator.
Where are they in all of this? And just like you said, sometimes you even turn off your data and they tell you 16 gig for 1 month, a particular telecom
network.
Yeah, and they tell you that's 7K. And then sometimes you're not even browsing, and in less than 2 days they are sending you reminders.
That's what I've always been my issue.
I'm just trying to say that sometimes I don't know what they do. You don't even make calls. Like me, I use my Wi-Fi at home. It's only when I'm out I use mobile, but I don't know how the data just finishes.
Maybe you are using a 8 gig RAM.
Okay, maybe.
That makes it
seems
faster.
to understand all this is about.
I am not an advocate of these people.
Let's not exonerate them.
But the point, you see, another point we have to raise here is that it is still no infraction, I mean, no punishment for infraction.
Yes.
How can somebody defraud Nigerians to the tune of about 100 billion and you are giving a slap in the wrist, go and pay 100 million naira fine? What is the ratio between that thing that you have ripped off of? You know, the first time I went to South Africa, I wanted to buy a SIM of a particular network. The way they looked at me when I announced it, the lady in the shop said, "Are you a Nigerian?" I said, "Yes." She just smiled. Wow. Because that particular network is not even popular in South Africa.
Yes.
Which is supposed to be the base.
Yes.
So that is to tell you that sometimes we consumers should also make use of our opportunities and other options that we have. But here in Nigeria,
how much government support did a Glow? I mean, let's mention the brand now. Did they get from the government? Are we privy to that?
How much government support did our own telco company, our own?
As it were, yes.
Okay.
They get from.
I think they did at that point. I think they did
at the initial stage. They got support.
Stage, you did because you recall that they had to collapse. You know, like 2 networks, and gave that license
to the. It was not originally on the card.
Yeah, it wasn't originally, but the government had to say, we cannot do all of this and not have our own player.
Yes.
And the player was even good enough to say, look, Nigerians, because one of them came and sold us the idea that you can't do per second billing. And
no, the two of them.
The two of them.
Yes. The local company said no, it's possible.
We can do per second billing.
And when they mounted the equipment and started charging per second billing, Nigerians said, so this is possible.
Crash.
A lot of people had high blood pressure because once you start your call, you'll be looking at it. Make sure it doesn't exceed 1 minute.
You put it on.
And you know, we are very good at greeting in this part of the world. Before you say
no, greeting takes about 30% of your conversation.
Wife, how is your husband?
Well, we're having the same problem. So, we're having the same problem in the what's the word now? In this other sector, cable TV.
Pay TV.
Yes. Pay TV. We're having the same thing there. Local players are having a tough day.
And breaking even.
No, which other cable pay TV do you have that is thriving? No, which other? The dominant one is still the one in charge.
No, that's what Moses is saying. Because I mean, how much of government encouragement did the local one
get? The local one to try.
Because we had a few of them, quite a few of them, and they were all
and they were speaking, but they just suddenly went.
One came up and was just doing sports, and that's what some of us like. And then he went.
He just went on the ground and died.
On the ground.
And the government did not even investigate
How much support? The government even tried to say, okay, even if management and whatever brought you down, let's support you with some subvention and all of that, so you come up again.
But okay, so generally, in generic terms, this kind of support, when we see it come from government, what happens? How much billions of naira was sold to the aviation industry? And what happened? People pocketed the money, went and bought houses in New York and South Africa and all of that. Up until today, Amcon is still struggling to recover the money. Some of those airlines are down.
The same government that gave her that support ought to follow up. They ought to follow
when
up.
When you say government, who is the government?
Nigeria will still have a government.
I know of a particular senator that when he became senator, he shouted, he said, so this is the kind of money they receive in this place. This is too much. Oh. They silenced him. He came back second time. We didn't hear from him again. Mm-hmm. I know of a particular minister that as soon as he became minister, the second day, 400 million landed from one of the telcos because his ministry oversees these networks and a brand new high-end phone. 2, one for the wife, one for her, for himself, and unlimited data, unlimited telephone. So he's only saddled with the responsibility of making sure the battery does not go down. That kind of person.
How can
that person legislate?
How can the person slam sanction?
How can that person regulate?
And you see, it was in the military, whether we like it or not, whether it was politics or not, that one minister accepted a wristwatch and he went to jail. Mm-hmm. And in 26 years of the civilian regime, we have not seen one of such. Not even one. So between the military and the civilian authorities,
during dispensation, a president was a construction company built a house for a president. Did you take him to court?
Oh well. Let's take some more headlines here. All right. From the Guardian newspaper, these are a few of the headlines. The window headlines: PDP decries insecurity as Kaduna denies abduction of 163 worshippers. FG contractors on warpath over 4 trillion naira debt. FCTA kicks as workers begin indefinite strike. There are riders to that one. When we want to go into it, we'll touch on the riders. IMF aligns with World Bank on Nigeria's 4.4% growth projection. FG to appeal judgment on attacks against journalists. Kanu killings. Tinubu orders probe as state takes over prosecution. All right. Court strikes out Meta X as FG rearranges Showore on amended cyberbullying charges. APC closes in on Kanu as state chairman, hopeful of Yusuf's defection. All right. I'd like us to zero in on that one. But before that, Police Smart invests $60 million in Nigeria's largest plastic recycling plant. Sanwo-Olu signs 2026 4.4 trillion naira budget into law. Okay, just been signed into law. Why are they dragging Siminalayi Ufubara for not presenting one yet? It's general. So
that FCT story, strike.
Yes. FCDA.
FCDA and FCTA. FCTA and FCTA. Federal Capital Authority and Federal Capital Development Authority. They are on strike. And I think
You want me to read deeper?
No. That story, I felt.
Okay, so for the benefit of our viewers, let me just read a little into it, and then we'll get your analysis. So, workers at the secretariats of the Federal Capital Territory Administration (FCTA) have completely shut all offices, in line with the industrial action being embarked upon by their umbrella union, the Joint Union Action Congress (JUAC). Now, according to the union, the strike action is indefinite because of unresolved welfare issues. Now, it goes on, says, JUAC, which ordered employees across all cadre of the administration to withdraw their services with effect from January 19, 2026, based its decision on the authorities' alleged failure to address long-standing demands. And in a statement dated January 8 and jointly signed by JUAC President and Secretary, it says that the union said an earlier ultimatum issued on January 7 expired without any meaningful engagement from the management. So basically, the strike stands.
Yeah. I saw the spokesperson of the Minister for FCT last night in one of the channels trying to defend this strike. I was like, what is this man saying? We're talking about welfare there. Yes, no matter how good a town is, how beautiful a town is, everything about town planning talks about comfortable living of human beings that are living in that town. So he's doing roads, he's doing bridges. We're hungry man driving through the road will not appreciate how beautiful it is. Now they have gone on strike because there's even one that annoys me most, that extension of permanent secretaries, those that are supposed to be retired, they now extend their services. I mean, to remain in service. Why do you do all this? At the end of the day, now FCT is shut down. Look at schools, hospital, waste management, water and all. None of them is functioning at the moment because of this. Then all this one now boils down to the same people you say you want to give comfortability to by doing the road and all that. Now they will stay in their house, now tap is not flowing. You can't, as you are driving on the street, everywhere is littered. It becomes, a squalid environment. What have you achieved? So I don't know why we do this misplacement. Take care of citizens. And they will join you in taking care of maintaining other facilities in whatever town, in whatever you are providing for them in that town. Because town planning did not say you must take people out of the aesthetic nature of the town, of the city. They said everything you are providing is for the living of the people to make them live a better life. But what we see in Nigeria is we come to demolish and put the people in agony because we want to make the city function. That's not what town planning is all about. I think the minister should address all this strike as fast as possible so that the city can function as it's supposed to be properly. Insecurity. The people are at home idle. You are giving job to an idle man. An idle man is the devil's workshop. You are giving people the devil jobs because they are at home. Children are not going to school. I saw some of the hospitals yesterday that they said patients were turned back because the nurses and the doctors, those ones under the employment of the FCTA, are not coming to work. And they said they were showing some dilapidated roof and in the hospitals and even lack of equipment. So we should not concentrate on, talking about making Abuja beautiful. It should make the people that live in Abuja also
happy
beautiful.
Well, I think I listened to Larry Olaika, that's the minister's spokesperson. And Larry said that 10 out of the 14 demands of the workers
have been met.
That's according to what he said. Well, we need to verify all of that. I didn't get opportunity to hear any of the workers respond to that or any of the union leaders. Now, that said, I always say that we have our leaders have a false sense of accomplishment in the fact that when they do ordinary things that they should do, they go to high heaven.
Part of their function.
Which is part of their mandate, which is part of their function. They take a lot of glory for it. And now we hear our president say, like Minister Wike, when he celebrated his 58th birthday, said, look, Minister Wike is one of the shining stars of this administration. So if you have a poster boy, if you have a shining star of this administration and the workers under him are going on strike, so how
shining is
the shine? And how shining is the shine? So it becomes a problem. How do we assess performance? Do we normally do performance appraisal in offices? When this administration came on board, we had Hadiza Abala Usman roll out the app, the performance appraiser.
Yes,
I was in Enugu then, and I was on the other side, and you asked me questions, and I said, look, well, this thing is not going to work because this is not the first time. And that app, we have in the Ministry of Establishment, there's this office, there's this desk, that you go to complain about something.
Servicom.
How much did Servicom serve us? You go, and one thing they did in Servicom.
Does it really exist?
You know what they did in Servicom?
Civil servants, basically.
You know what they did in Servicom? They made sure that like 80% of the staffers are women. So you go to that desk, you see 3 women discussing. Hey,
I said they made sure like that was a deliberate thing.
I don't know.
They don't cause wahala.
They discuss joints.
Excuse me, ma. Can I? He said, sit down. I will tell you to sit down. You sit down. You see that? they will start talking about those that.
I'm surprised that you are not reacting.
That's what I'm telling you. I'm asking you, why is it
I'm talking about personal experience. You know?
So there are no men in the office.
I said like 80% of them, you know, were employed women.
The 20% should be game changers.
You understand? So when we got to the whole essence of I'm giving this in some detail, you know, to let us understand that we don't even have a method of appraising performance of people in government. So when they do little things, like when a governor comes to pay salaries,
as if
it's even one of those things.
They will taking the money from his pocket.
Cover page.
Have you not seen APC's advert recently? It's one of those things they mentioned there, from payment of salary.
Oh my goodness.
APC advert that is currently running. Part of achievement of
excuse you, not even excuse me, excuse you. What are you telling us that you pay salary?
Yes,
so that sense of accomplishment is false. And until we have talked about holding leaders to account. We have said it more than 1 million times. So how can we do that? How can we hold
the political party should Nigerians and the political party, if the political party actually want to be sincere, they ought to even be holding their own governors and whatever ministers to account, because it is when you give the people actually that democracy dividend that the people will sing your praises in the next election. But there is a caveat to that. Unfortunately, most times we will hear there was a glitch. So when those kind of glitches coming, people are not really put into consideration. That's the only thing. That's why your program, I keep listening to your program, Political Lens. Okay. Please help us to be reminding Nigeria that at this time we should be talking about electoral reform. That the electoral reform we use in 2023 cannot qualify us for 2027.
The Senate President has made.
So we have to look into that.
There's a new electoral act.
It's too important. That brings me to some time ago. You know, when PDP was still in power, they have good governance. They set up a committee that was headed by Labaramaku, the Minister for Information, that was touring around all their states, talking about the performance of their governors then, and they were reporting it. That was good to some extent, you know, to put them on their toes and also use it to challenge the opposition that we are working. But what we see now in APC is because they can pay salaries, because the governors now,
I detest that particular thing. Celebrating salary payments.
Listen
as if you are drawing that money from your personal pocket.
Listen to the present APC advert that is running now. It's part of those things that they mentioned. Prompt payment of salary. Then when they tie a 3-kilometer road, the money for the tying of that road the money for the inauguration of the road will be more than the money for tying the road. Because when they are going to open or inaugurate that road, they are going to bring all the parties to us. Sometimes they bring them from different states.
And
they pay for all.
Your colleagues are also enjoying from that, though.
Yeah.
So don't demarket your colleagues.
No, they give them coverage. They are doing their job. It's the coverage, and that's what because we are mandated to do that. Fourth realm of the estate. That's what we're also doing here. But where they are wrong, we also remind them.
Live telecast. You know how much it costs.
Yeah, because they want you and I to see it. Because I may not be there. 47-kilometer third road of Lagos Calabar Coastal Road Highway has been done 3 times in this nation. So, and we are going to see more. We are not talking of 47 kilometers out of 700 kilometers.
Maybe you have just seen. What about the one that they never touched, and the record is there that they have completed?
It's done already. We have all those ones. So the political parties should help Nigerians, and Nigerians should also begin to ask more questions, because we must ask questions.
Yes, we must ask questions indeed. And we'll continue to ask these questions in hope that the answers we will get will put smiles on the faces of the people. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Elvis Elimehele. Thanks for your contribution. And thank you also, Dele Fanimo, for your contribution. Chukwuma played the role of both analyst and host on this show. Oh, well, thank you for your contribution as well. But he makes a comeback later tonight on Political Lens. You already heard about the show on this show. So it's at 6 p.m. later tonight, and they'll be discussing. They'll be going around the nation, basically, talking politics and every other thing that you need to know. 6 p.m. later tonight, Political Lens. Jane Ogoye, well, together, Jane and I will be back here tomorrow to ensure that you get the latest. You get the latest in, the news. I am Moses Humphrey, wishing you a beautiful day. Stick around. Sports comes up next. Bye for now.
name is Tao Familoni, and here's to VOPTV. Keep watching, stay tuned, do not touch that dial.
Arararara, my name is Made Kuti and you're watching BOPTV. Keep watching.
Welcome, my name is Zika Davis. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, boys, viewers, everybody, boys and girls. This is VOP TV. Do you know what that means? Voice of the People TV. You don't have a voice, don't come here. You better make sure your voice is heard.